You bombed your last job interview. Here are a few reasons why they didn't hire you according to science. Number one, the self-fulfilling prophecy bias. Once interviewers have made an initial judgment about a candidate, they tend to look for evidence to support their conclusion. This bias often happens before you even enter the room. They might have made a judgment about your resume, your LinkedIn. You didn't even know before the interview that you had this obstacle, that they already didn't like you. Number two, the contrast effect. Often one's individual ranking is based on one's position relative to others in the group. If the interview pool consists of a number of outstanding candidates, it is extremely difficult for an average candidate to be picked as number one. In this economy, in this job market, there are so many outstanding people, so it's really hard for an average candidate to get hired. But good news, if you are in a substandard pool, the average candidate stands out disproportionately. Lastly, we all know this to be true, but it's called the similar to me effect. Hiring managers and mentors promote and hire people who are like them. They have an unconscious tendency to favor people who are physically and professionally similar to them. This is one of the factors that holds women and minorities back in the world. There are a few things that you can do to overcome these biases, but also there are some things that you just cannot do that are absolutely out of your control, and maybe it's helpful to know that it's just not always you. Did you know Coca-Cola, invented in 1886, and the light bulb, invented in 1879, are all older than a woman's right to vote? Women got the right to vote in America in 1919. The telephone, invented in 1876, is older than your right to vote. Cameras and movies, older than your right to vote. Contact lenses, invented in 1888, predate a women's right to vote. Women were not legally allowed to open a bank account without their husband until 1974. Women were not legally allowed to own a business until 1988. I know that you think that 1919 was like a million years ago and that you have nothing in common with your great-great-grandmother, but she was wearing contact lenses, watching a movie, talking on the telephone about wanting her right to vote. Here we are taking it for granted. Today is National Voter Registration Day. You need to register to vote. It's not a political post. This is not a bipartisan issue. Everyone, especially women in America, need to register to vote. Not go into a job interview without figuring this out first. There are only two ways to go into a job interview. One, acting as if you need to get money from them. Number two, that you have incredible value that you are offering them. Think of it this way. Imagine going into a job interview thinking, I hope they pay me $100,000. They better pay me $100,000. How can I convince them to pay me $100,000? Or they need to convince me to bring my talent and my value to their organization. For your next job interview, don't go into the job interview or act in the job interview like you are begging them for money, like you need to convince them to pay you a salary. No. The less you want it, the more they want you. If you already know of your inherent value, if you know that you are a subject matter expert, if you know what you bring to the table, you would never, ever bring that energy into a job interview. Instead, you know what they need to do in order to get you to work there. You are bringing the value. It's not them bringing the value by them paying you a salary. No, you need to think about it differently. You are the one that has the solution to their problem. You are the one that can do the job. You are the one that has the knowledge that they need. And you make that change. It shifts your confidence, your attitude. You approach job interviews and interactions differently when you know your inherent value. You're not begging them. You're not asking them. No, girl, we're not doing that. When you know your value and you interview accordingly, you will get way more offers. You will find jobs that will make you happy. And isn't that what you really want? The mistakes you're making ahead of your next job interview, you are spending way too much time researching the organization, because 99% of the job interview is going to be questions about you. Yes, of course, you need to go on the company's website and know what they do, but you need to spend a lot more time practicing the questions that they are going to ask you. You have this belief, it's delusional, that you think that you're going to do better on the spot and that when you get in there, you're going to be able to just rattle off the perfect answer to tell me about yourself. You're not, trust me. I've been in thousands of job interviews interviews and I've never seen anyone do really well on the spot. No, they cave, they get nervous, they ramble, it's terrible. The only way to get better at job interviews is to practice. Spend less time researching the company and more time researching you, because in the most basic sense, a job interview is just a set of questions about you. Ahead of your next interview, I want you to practice. Tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work here? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What are your strengths and weaknesses? And then practice. Record yourself on your phone, watch it back, and practice. It's super cringe. I know you hate it. You don't think you have to do it, but trust me. Trust me. It is the only way to get better at interviewing. When you're asked in a job interview, what's your typical way of dealing with conflict? Don't panic. This is called the behavioral question, and behavioral questions require a STAR method response, which stands for situation, task, action, and result. If you are savvy ahead of your job interviews, you are going to prepare many great stories. Stories in job interviews are really the vehicles for which you show how you are qualified. If you are not good at telling stories, don't worry, just use the STAR method formula. Describe to them the situation that you found yourself in, the task that was required, the action that you took, and then the result. The result in a job interview should always be positive. Now, if they're asking you about a time that you failed or a time that you did something poorly, you have to talk about something negative, but at the end, you turn it around and talk about how that negative thing made you braver, smarter, wiser, right? We don't want to just hear how you failed and that you failed. We want to hear that you learned a lesson from it. I hope that helps. For a full list of behavioral questions to prepare and practice, they're on page 21 of an Interviewology profile. Discover your interview style, get an Interviewology profile, and you can also get my book, Interviewology, The New Science of Interviewing. You're asked in a job interview, can you tell me about a time that you dealt with a tough client? Don't panic. These are called behavioral questions, and there is a formula to answer these. It's called STAR method. Have you heard of it? It stands for situation, task, action, and result. If you don't like to talk about yourself and you don't think you're a very good storyteller, then STAR method is an excellent formula for you to use when you're preparing for your next job interview. Ahead of your next job interview, get an Interviewology profile that outlines the STAR method formula. There's also lists and lists of behavioral questions that you should prepare for ahead of a job interview. For example, here are some behavioral questions that are commonly asked in corporate job interviews. Describe a situation in which you were able to use persuasion to successfully convince someone to see things your way. Describe a time when you were faced with a stressful situation and tell me how you handled it. What is your typical way of dealing with conflict? Give me an example. Tell me about a time you set out to do something and failed. I know that you have answers to these questions. You just need to sit down and think about them. You're not bad at interviewing, you're just unprepared.